Hey, if you've been in the corporate world for a while and you have a job and you have specific skills, watch this video if you want to actually understand how to make more money, how to build up more cash flow for yourself, and also build up more wealth. Because I want to share a concept today that is going to potentially help you get into more income and build up more wealth. And the reason is I've been working with a lot of corporate professionals along the last, I would say, 7 years, and they've been getting into different business models and businesses that allow them to get into more cash flow. And I want to share an interesting opportunity for you here in the video. So first of all, think about it this way. If you're in a fairly developed market, US, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, and you have a fairly specific skill set, you have a fairly good job, you have fairly good income, fairly good credit score, this opportunity might be available for you, and which is essentially acquiring a business, acquiring a stake in an established firm. And a lot of people think that you need to have loads of capital set aside to be able to go and acquire a company, but it is not necessarily true. But the way you need to look at this is essentially you're leveraging the company to go and get a loan to be able to buy the company with that loan. And you can also get in to raise additional outside capital to basically buy the company with. Now, yeah, in most cases, you need to still have some capital set aside. I typically recommend a lot of my clients that work with me to have a little bit above 100K liquid capital set aside. That helps to be able to go out there and negotiate some of these deals. Now, here's the basic concept of opportunity. Number one is there's a lot of baby boomers that own good private companies that are actually cash flowing a lot of money. So for example, there's a plumbing company that makes 2 million in revenue and 400K a year in cash flow. Or there's an air conditioning company that makes 1.5 million a year and makes 350 in cash flow or 550 in cash flow. Or there's a pest control company that sells and it makes 2 million revenue a year and makes 650 a year in cash flow. So there's a lot of companies out there that make millions in revenue a year already and make a lot more in profit than the typical businesses you're going to go out there and start. If you're going to start a company in 2026, the issue is that you're going to have a trouble scaling that company to those levels of revenue and cash flow. So what it means to you is you're spending so much more time and capital and opportunity cost to build something that might not even exist in 5 or 10 years. Instead of you doing that, you can go and talk to these retiring baby boomers that already own these businesses that are going to pass these businesses to somebody they trust, somebody that can have value to their businesses and they can actually keep that legacy. A lot of these transactions are not only transactions, they're also emotional sales, meaning the seller is trying to sell the business to somebody they trust and they're going to take care of their employees. So it's not just about a transaction, it's an emotional connection with somebody. And as long as you're qualified for that particular industry or that deal, you can add value to the deal from a sales, marketing, customer support perspective, operations, financial engineering, whatever you know in your said job, you might be able to add more value to the deal and you might get a lot of training and mentorship from the seller on the transition period in the next 1, 2, 3 years. And that way you can still learn a lot about operations, even if you didn't own a company before, right? Maybe you didn't have an actual business before, but you still want to get into it and learn how it works. And a lot of the times, if you make, let's say 150,000 a year right now, or 250,000 a year, you might get into a business that makes you more money than that, but plus on top of that, you're building an equity from the company. Meaning, if you buy a company worth $2 million today, and in 5 years, you improve it, in 7 years, you pay off the loan, you might be able to sell that company for more than $4 million because you've improved the company and maybe increased the cash flow and the value of the business has increased. Typically, the value of the business is dependent on the amount of cash flow it generates yearly. So if you've increased the amount of cash flow yearly, you will typically sell it for more, which means you've now increased your net worth from, let's say, 2 million to 4 million in value. So this is a very good opportunity for most people that are smart about it and have some capital, they have some skills, and they can get into it and go from zero, not having a business, to having a business worth 2 million and then in a few years, doubling that business. This is how a lot of our clients that we worked with over the last 7 years have done deals and have became millionaires doing the whole process from A to Z. And essentially, if you need to get a lot of support, the best thing to do is just actually reach out to me on LinkedIn to get more custom advice based on your situation, and you can book a call and we can have a conversation. But this is really the opportunity. I think this is one of the biggest opportunities out there in 2026 for most people that are in this qualification, I guess. And if you have more questions, happy to make more videos on it. But this channel that I have is designed to kind of educate you a little bit more about the risks of opportunity, a little bit about how to find these deals, how to analyze these deals. So if you want to get more insights, just subscribe to the channel, and that way you can get more context. Thanks for watching. Have a nice one.